Well, hello, my inky friends. It's Cindy Lynn with My Inky Fingers. Thank you so much for joining me today on my YouTube channel and blog. If you're new here, welcome. Today, I've got a fun project. It's a little bit behind. I wanted to do this in October, but October was a roller coaster, so here we are. These are some adorable paper pumpkins, not paper pumpkin, but paper pumpkins to put on your festive tables for Thanksgiving or Christmas. In Canada, you guys can do these next year. Make sure you pick up and stack up on this DSP. I used the Gilded Autumn DSP, and here what I'm going to do is I'm just kind of playing because I want to decide what colors I want my strips, and I go back and forth and flip them here and there, you'll see. But you need 12 strips that are 1 inch by 7 inches. So cut your 12 by 12 to 7 and then cut your 12 1-inch strips out of that. Now I've got 4 piles, so I'm just picking up 1 from each pile so that I can create 3 stacks of okay, how am I going to explain this? I'm going to create 3 piles of 4, right? So 4 of each. So yeah, if I confused you yet, I confused me. I can see what I mean. You see what I mean, right? 4 piles of strips, okay? 12 strips in order by pattern. So you don't want to get the patterns all mixed up, or you might have 2 beside each other, so you want them evenly spread out, right? So here, this is just like a little square foam thingy that, you know, I've had forever. Now I'm thinking, how am I going to show you guys how to do this easy? And then it came to me. I got this scratch piece of copy paper and I went a 1/2 inch from each side, and then I just used a pencil, made my dot, and then I'm going to pierce that. So that's kind of my template to put over top. Now I took 4 strips at a time because I felt that my take your pick could go through 4 at a time, as you can see here. Now sometimes things come to me just a little bit late, and I thought, why didn't I measure both sides of this template so that I could just pierce both sides? It came to me at the end. So do it in the beginning, measure it in the beginning, and then you can get all of these pierced, no problem. So as you can see, I caught up there. Now, what you're going to want to do is pull out some brads. Any brads will work. You're not going to see them. They can be fluorescent green for all it matters, right? But what you're going to do is flip your pieces upside down because they're facing you in the colors that you want. So you're going to flip them over and you're just going to lay them in a circle all the way around that there brad, okay? Now, there is a pattern here, so stick with me, you'll get it. And if you are like me, you can take the whole stack and just stick the brad in it and then fan them out, but I'm going to do this in real time, baby steps, so that I don't lose anybody, okay? So once they're all fanned out, what you're going to see is you're going to have 5 on the left and 5 on the right, not including your top and bottom, right? So you're going to create a plus, and then in between each of the lines of the plus, if you will, there'll be 2, all right? So you can see the plus there, and then there's 5 on the left and 5 on the right. And I'm just going to eyeball them and just evenly spread them out. So you'll get it. Once you start laying it out, you'll come back and go, okay, you know, Cindy Lynn always complicates things. Why didn't you say it this way? But this is how I did it. So create your plus and then 2 strips in between each of the ends of your plus, if you will, right? So once you think you've got those, you know, pretty evenly distributed, now you can play with them a little, like the brad does have some wiggle room. It's not, you know, liquid cement, right? It's just a little brad. So I'm going to open up that brad there. And then I'm going to grab another brad and I'm going to show you, and I've left a lot of this video in real time for you guys. That's why it's a little longer, but I'm going to show you how to kind of connect these now. So it doesn't really matter which one you start with. I like to start at the top of the plus, so I'm going to go with that. And I'm going to put my brad through. Now here's the trick. Each piece you fold up must go under the last piece, okay? So that one's going under. Now I'm going to flip this one up and it's going under the previous 2. Flip this one up and it's going to go under the previous 3. Now once I've got a few pieces there, I can kind of pick this up so that I can see my brad. See, I'm going to turn it around. Now I can pick it up. So it's a little easier to kind of get these in because you can see where the hole is. So just They all go under. It's kind of impossible to make them not go under, but just for visual and, you know, following along. Now, I did speed it up here because I don't want you snoring and falling asleep on me, but I'll slow it down when I actually fan the brad out again, because even if you have to create an opening, because I really struggled here. My brad was super, super, super tight, so I had to get my take your pick in there. But you can create that opening, and then you're just going to play with it. Now, here's a really neat thing. When I did the copy paper, it kind of turned out like an oval, but when I did this with the DSP, it turned out perfectly circular. So that was a surprise to me, because I made this originally with copy paper. I saw it somewhere online, and you guys, I have searched high and low. I've gone through my history trying to find where I saw one of these. I can't find it, but nevertheless. So here's a tip. These would make really fun Christmas balls if you do Christmas paper, right? DSP. Now, I'm going to kind of show you how to flatten these out. And once I've got all my strips back where I want them, I'm just gently going to push down on it, okay? Just to create more of a, it's not really an oval, but more flat, not like a circle, you know what I mean? So now I'm going to use the Gather Together stamps. Now, these little strips, I cut off the leftover of the DSP from the strips for the paper pumpkin. So I've got those to the side. Got some very vanilla cardstock that's got some holes in it. I don't know. I was doing something. I messed it up. So I threw it in my scraps drawer. Now I'm going to pull out those layering circles. And here's a little tip if you haven't watched my How I Store My Dies. I keep that little cellophane bag. They're from Amazon. They were too big. I had to trim them. But I keep that in the back of my little case there so I can store all these extra pieces. And these ones are just my second, third, fourth, fifth. Like I mark which ones they are, because then I get a really good visual. So here, I don't remember which ones I used. I'll do a type over here for you guys, or I'll even put it on my blog. And all the supplies I use are on my blog, and all of the different pieces I use, all the measurements, everything like that. So what I want to do here is I want to distress we're going to make the little curly cues for the top of the pumpkins. So I got all my little mini inkers all done and set up, made a video for you guys. I'm not going to launch the video until I can figure out a few ways to show you guys why you want them. This is one really good reason, because it's nice and small. I'm going to show you 3 ways to distress this. Here's your second way, because you probably already have an ink pad. I don't really like this way. It just doesn't feel natural, and I'm constantly like rubbing it back and forth and looking, and you know, it's not my favorite way to do it. But you can also use a foam dauber. Everybody's probably got some kind of foam dauber, even a sponge. Just cut a piece of sponge, put it in your ink, and then just kind of, you know, rub it on the edges of your paper. This paper is 1/4 inch, I believe. I'll make sure I write the instructions, write it on my blog, but it's a little difficult to work with because it was so skinny, right? But the leaves, 2 leaves for each pumpkin, okay? And that's out of the DSP as well, the Gilded Autumn. And I just used a plain color. Now, I wanted to kind of crinkle them, because you know when leaves are dying, they're all crinkled. So I didn't create too much of a ball. I'd rather have less crinkle and add more crinkle later, and I tore my DSP. But you know what? It's okay, because you're never going to notice. So I'm going to take that sponge dauber. So a sponge dauber will do both here. It'll distress your little strips, and it'll also distress your leaves. And I didn't go perfect around the edge of the leaves either. I wanted it kind of rustic and organic. Same sponge dauber. I didn't even re-ink it. I'm just going around the edges here where I die cut all this out. And then I put some glue there while I was inking them, because then it gets tacky. And I'm just going to stick these all on that brushed metallic DSP. I felt that that one perfectly complemented the foiling in the DSP. So now get out your paper snips. Now I cut out a part here for time, but if you go too many times on these DSPs, it will separate, okay? So try not to go too many times, because you want to see both the outside and inside. I would say don't go more than 3. If you don't get the curl you want, manipulate it, okay? Manually curl it, because again, the paper will separate. It happened to me. I had to glue it back together, and it was a mess. I had inky, gluey fingers everywhere. So here, I've got my little Dries bottle with my multi-purpose liquid glue. It's linked below, but I'm adding a liberal blob, because this is, it's all crinkled, right? What is the word? I think it's crinkled. Anyhow, I'm putting the glue on a part that's raised up so that when I flip it over, it connects to the pumpkin, okay? Because you want a good connection there. And a nice blob, you know what? It's going to be slippery, slidey for a while because it's not tacky. The more glue you use, you know, the more glue you use, the longer it takes to get tacky. But give it some time. Now, what I did here, I thought, cha-ching, I flipped them all upside down and I put all my glue blobs on all of them there so that by the time I was ready to put them on my pumpkins, they'd be a little bit more tacky. So then once I got all my leaves on, I used 2 dimensionals, and I was actually quite proud of myself because usually I go ham on the dimensionals and I use way too many, but I only used 2. And then I just kind of stuck that, you know, just kind of a little offset so it was coming down the pumpkin. I didn't want it on the top because then you kind of have to look over the pumpkin to read it, right? And then, yeah, there, you know, a little glue mistake, get the baby wipe out, no big deal. So I'm adding, again, a good blob of the glue on the back side of these little curly cues, because when I flip it over and then tuck it in, and it's slippery, slidey, guys, okay? It's gonna slide, you're gonna go, ah, but once it dries, you've got a really good amount of glue that's going to dry and hold those in there. Now here, this is the braided linen trim. And this curls so cute. And I thought, you know what? I got to add these in there for just an extra something, something. It matches the leaves. Now, it doesn't stand up the same as your little paper curly cues, so just kind of play with it and make sure you put it in the spot you want it to for its forever home, because once it dries it ain't moving, right? And then here, oh, face palm. Put your little rhinestones and thingies on your little sentiment circle there before you put them on the pumpkin, because that was a total pain in the butt. But nevertheless, there you have them. I just think these are so adorable. Let me know if you're going to do them for Thanksgiving in ovals or if you're going to do Christmas balls. And until I see you again, take care and happy stamping.